The Mars mission was the most ambitious undertaking in the history of human space exploration. Years of planning, diplomacy, and innovation had led to this moment. 4 astronauts inside a ship hurtling through the void toward the red planet. The world watched with breathless awe. Commander Alexander Chapayev sat at the helm, focused, calm, and precise. He had trained for this his whole life, but even the best training couldn't account for fate. As the ship began its final descent into Mars's atmosphere, a sudden meteor shower slammed into the vessel. Alarms erupted. The impact wasn't fatal, but it pushed the ship into the path of a massive dust storm brewing across the Martian surface, a phenomenon expected but not this violent, not this soon. Inside Mission Control on Earth, Director Kovalov's face hardened. He had spent half his life dreaming of this moment. Now he was watching it unravel in real time. Kovalov ordered Chapayev to take manual control. The commander responded without hesitation. He gripped the controls, adjusting the ship's pitch and throttle, trying to pull them out of the storm's spiral. It was useless. The external damage from the meteors had crippled the navigation systems. Wind speeds on the surface were surging. Chapayev's voice was steady as he reported the ship was no longer responding. Kovalov made the call. Activate the return program. It was their last card. A small module designed to detach from the main ship could escape with the crew and begin the long journey back to Earth. Chapayev initiated the sequence. The module clicked. The lights on the console blinked green, then red. Detachment failed. Everyone knew what that meant. The module would not separate unless done manually. The crew wouldn't survive if they remained on board. Chapayev didn't hesitate. He pulled himself toward the airlock and gave a single order. Prepare for emergency detachment. His crew protested, knowing what it meant. He didn't respond. He looked at the module, then back at the ship. Then, without ceremony or delay, he climbed into the narrow space between the module and main vessel. With the force of a trained soldier, Chapayev severed the mechanical locks by hand, each one a thunderous clunk that pushed the module closer to safety and him further from it. One final jolt, and the module was loose. It drifted upward, carrying the other 3 astronauts inside. The main ship, crippled, fell into the storm below. Back on Earth, the control room fell into silence. Kovalov stared at the monitors, at the signals slowly fading from the main vessel. For a moment, it felt like the breath had been knocked out of the entire building. Somewhere, a technician played an old interview on a side monitor. Kovalov, years younger, was smiling, talking about the dream of Mars. The audio crackled with his optimism. What no one knew yet was that Chapayev had survived the crash. The ship, though badly damaged, had held together just enough to protect its captain. Bruised, shaken but conscious, he lay strapped to a seat surrounded by bent steel and broken panels. A red haze filled the cabin. Dust seeped in through cracks. He coughed once, then reached for the comms. In that moment, as Kovalov stood at the press podium preparing to deliver a eulogy for his best friend, a voice came through in the control room, weak but unmistakably Chapayev's. "Still here," he said, his voice hoarse. "I'm still here." The room exploded in movement. Kovalov pushed through the crowd, eyes locked on the screen. Chapayev, bloodied but alive, blinked at the camera. He was alone on Mars, but not lost, not yet. The news that Alexander Chapayev had survived sent shockwaves across the globe. Within minutes of his transmission, the story was everywhere. The lone man on Mars, thought to be dead, was alive and stranded. Inside Mission Control, Kovalov stared at the screen like he was seeing a ghost. Relief hit him like a wave, but it was short-lived. The reality set in fast. They had no rescue mission ready, and the resources aboard the damaged ship would last him only 13 months, half the originally planned duration. Kovalov contacted Minister Rogachev the same day. He laid out a rescue strategy. If they moved fast, synchronized the launch window with Earth-Mars orbital phases, and brought in international partners like China and the US, they could get a new mission off the ground within 190 days. But fast-tracking such an operation would be financially impossible without outside help. Rogachev's face said it all. The cost made the plan politically radioactive. Elsewhere, newsrooms and networks fought over airtime. One evening, a popular television host briefed the president of the largest media corporation in Russia. "There's something here," the host said. "A man, alone, on Mars, talking to Earth. This isn't just news, it's the greatest live broadcast in history." The media president called Kovalov directly. His proposal was bold and shameless. Turn Chapayev's survival into a reality show, a live stream from Mars. Interviews, updates, even Q&A segments with kids. The whole world could watch and donate. All proceeds would go to fund the rescue mission. Kovalov was livid. "He's not some circus act," he said. "This man gave up his life to save others." But the president didn't back down. "If you want to bring him back," he replied, "this is the only way." Alone in his office later that night, Kovalov stood before an old photo. Two boys in uniform, dusty from training, laughing like idiots. Him and Chapayev. They had been through war together. Space was supposed to be their next fight, together. That memory made the choice clear. If the world needed a show to fund a rescue, so be it. The first broadcasts were chaotic. Reporters flooded Mission Control. Kovalov hated every second of it, but Chapayev played along. Despite the harsh rations and the crumbling infrastructure of the ship, he found the strength to smile. When the cameras went live, he didn't wait for scripts or instructions. He looked straight into the lens and started talking. He spoke plainly, sometimes with humor, sometimes with striking insight. He talked about dust storms and solitude, about missing coffee and the absurdity of fame. But he also talked about Earth, its beauty, its madness. His honesty struck a chord. The world listened. Within days, he became a global icon. They called him the alien. Children asked him questions. Social media lit up with clips of his musings on the universe. His popularity spiked across borders. But the show came at a cost. Every second of broadcast time drained power from the ship's failing systems. Kovalov raised the issue with the media president, warning that the window for rescue was shrinking. But the man shrugged. More exposure, more money, more pressure on the government. The show must go on. Kovalov gave in. He ordered extended airtime, rationalizing it as a necessary evil. Anna, the mission's psychologist, objected fiercely. She worried about Chapayev's mental state, about the isolation, the pressure, the exploitation. But Kovalov silenced her. "This is the only way," he repeated. Chapayev, meanwhile, kept doing his work. He continued running experiments, collecting data, and maintaining what was left of the ship. But he also began reporting something strange, a sound, distant and musical, that came from outside. The robot he'd deployed couldn't detect it. Earth's sensors picked up nothing, only he could hear it. Anna checked in regularly. Chapayev said he felt fine, better than expected even. But behind his grin was something else, a growing awareness that the silence on Mars wasn't so silent. The minister, capitalizing on the situation, publicly declared the mission a technical success. After all, there was now a functioning human habitat on Mars, regardless of how it got there. The reality show exploded in popularity. Viewers tuned in religiously. Geisha, the television host, began inserting herself into the broadcasts more and more, offering Chapayev on-camera advice about branding and tone. "Keep it light, keep it hopeful," she said. "That's what people want." But the act wore thin. Off-camera, Chapayev began to feel the weight of it all. The loneliness, the absurdity of becoming a hero while slowly starving on another planet. He started hearing the sounds more often, subtle melodies that seemed to speak to him. He told Anna in one of their private sessions, not knowing what they meant, only that they were growing louder. Still, the cameras kept rolling. Donations poured in. Children sent video messages. Politicians tweeted support. Everyone loved the story. The only person beginning to question it was the man actually living it. The sounds returned with a strange rhythm, soft pulses like a memory trying to form. At first, Chapayev thought it was stress, maybe hunger, maybe loneliness playing tricks on him. But the more he listened, the more he was sure they weren't just in his head. They had a structure, a kind of melody, as if something or someone was trying to speak in a language older than words. He brought it up to Anna during a scheduled mental health session. He didn't lead with it. He warmed her up with small talk, mission updates, a joke about the dehydrated beef stew. Then, casually, he mentioned the sounds. She paused. "Like mechanical noises?" "No," Chapayev said, "like music, but not human music." Anna noted the detail, keeping her expression neutral. She had seen cases of sensory hallucinations in isolated astronauts before. But this was different. Chapayev was lucid, articulate, even self-aware about what he was experiencing. He wasn't unraveling. He was just listening. Back on Earth, the show's popularity ballooned. The alien was now a full-blown brand. Merchandising deals, talk show debates, think pieces. The broadcasts ran longer and deeper. Audiences loved his strange philosophies, his reflections on time, the fragility of Earth, the illusion of permanence. But when he mentioned the sounds on air, Mission Control muted the segment. A voice-only update followed, describing technical difficulties. Chapayev wasn't told, but he noticed the cut, and something inside him shifted. Anna requested a private, unrecorded conversation. In that session, Chapayev opened up fully. He confessed that the sounds seemed to know what he was thinking before he thought it, that they weren't saying anything, yet they carried meaning, emotions, truths, and worse, he felt like they came from him. "I feel like I'm not reacting to this place," he told her. "I'm shaping it. Like this planet doesn't exist until I notice it, until I define it." Anna leaned forward slightly. "You think Mars is reacting to your consciousness?" "Number, I think Mars is my consciousness, or a reflection of it. I think this whole thing, time, space, the mission, it's just a frame we built to make sense of something we don't understand. I feel like I'm the cause of everything that's happening here." She typed slowly. "And on Earth? Same story, just more people, more noise, so it feels like chaos, but it's still made by us." The next day, Chapayev refused all scheduled communications. When Anna asked why, he replied with a short text message, "If I'm the cause, I don't want to be observed anymore." At Mission Control, the silence raised alarms. Geisha, the TV host, twisted the situation into drama. Will he ever return to the screen? Has Mars taken its toll? The viewers devoured it, but Anna saw through the spin. She went to Peor, the communication systems specialist, and her fiancé, and demanded a full readout of Chapayev's last few transmissions. Peor hesitated. He had already seen something. Strange patterns in the signal, data fragments that didn't match any known communication protocol. But Anna had been distant lately, absorbed with Chapayev's condition, and he resented it. So he downplayed what he found. "It's just interference," he said. "Solar stuff." She didn't buy it, but she let it go. She had bigger concerns now. Chapayev's silence deepened. Then, just as abruptly, he reappeared on camera, smiling, energized, and unlike himself. He announced a new show segment, Chapayev Knows. In it, he would answer questions from Earth, not about space, but about life, ethics, politics, anything. The media lapped it up. Ratings hit new highs. But Anna watched closely and saw the cracks. His tone was off, his rhythm, his facial expressions, subtly wrong, like a performance rehearsed too perfectly. She confronted Peor again, more forcefully this time. He finally admitted what he saw, strange patterns in the raw broadcast signal, embedded fragments as if something else was transmitting alongside Chapayev's data stream. Worse, communication links with Mars had been quietly rerouted. Someone had blocked external access to raw telemetry. Anna demanded answers from the media executives. They shrugged. "It's a technical issue." She tried the government. Nothing. Meanwhile, something shifted on Mars. The robot Chapayev had sent out weeks earlier, silent and mostly forgotten, sent back a blurry, distorted image. In the dust, a shape. No definite form, no material structure, just presence. A formless entity. Chapayev reported increasingly violent headaches. He described them not as pain, but as compression, as if his thoughts were being pulled apart and reassembled. The sounds grew louder, and then came the voice. Not outside, inside, his mother's voice. Just one word, remember. And for a moment, everything, Earth, Mars, the mission, faded. There was only that sound and him suspended in it. That night, as Earth slept, the signal from Mars continued to transmit. but no one was sure anymore if it was still Chapayev on the other end. Mars was silent again. The kind of silence that didn't just fill space but seemed to press against it. Heavy, aware. The broadcasts had stopped. No feed, no signal, no Chapayev. Mission Control had gone dark. Special forces now guarded the perimeter. Official statements claimed nothing had ever happened. No crash, no survivor. Just another failed mission, scrubbed from memory before it could harden into truth. But Kovalov couldn't forget. He wouldn't. He knew what was real. He'd seen Chapayev's face when everyone else had already started mourning. He'd heard his voice, hoarse but alive, whisper through static. Still here. The same voice he'd heard at 19, bleeding under enemy fire, promising they'd both make it home. That kind of truth doesn't get erased. Kovalov broke into the Mission Control building just before dawn. The guards tried to stop him, 2 of them, but he pushed through, blood on his shirt, ribs bruised. He staggered into the old command room, dark except for the blinking amber of the manual comm line still tethered to Mars. He keyed it open with trembling hands. Alex ... His voice cracked. I'm sorry. For all of this. The circus, the cameras, the lies. They told the world you were never there. They told them you never existed. But I remember. I know you. There was a pause. Long, eternal. Then nothing. The line died. Hours later, news broke. An American satellite scanning the Martian surface picked up an explosion. A flash of light, sudden and precise. Coordinates matched exactly with the last known location of the crashed Russian lander. In one moment, all denials unraveled. The world now knew. Chapayev was real. He had been there all along. But what they didn't know, what no sensor could capture, was what Chapayev had become. He walked the red deserts like a ghost with a heartbeat, each step stirring up centuries of dust and silence. The headaches had stopped, the voice remained, but now it wasn't speaking to him. It was with him. It didn't give him answers. It asked him questions. Questions that had no words, only feelings, memory, pattern. Time didn't feel linear anymore. Mars didn't feel like a place. It felt like a thought made real. Chapayev finally understood what the entity had been trying to show him, that the universe wasn't just observed by humans, it was created by them. Not in the metaphorical sense, but truly. That every atom, every beam of light, every planet, every breath of wind only came into being when consciousness touched it. That the double-slit experiment wasn't just a physics problem. It was the most profound proof that nothing exists until someone sees it. The stars, painted by expectation, matter, held together by perception, disaster, born from fear, hope from will. Human beings were not passengers of the universe, they were its architects, unaware gods stumbling through a world they kept remaking by accident. And that's why they suffered, because they built a mirror and didn't know they were looking at themselves. On Earth, people argued, politicians spun stories, networks fought over footage, investigations opened and quietly disappeared. But Chapayev was done watching. The entity, if it could be called that, had no body, no voice, no desire. It didn't command or demand. It only revealed. And it revealed this. that Chapayev could choose not to die, not to survive, to become. He stood at the edge of the Valles Marineris, that ancient canyon stretching across the planet like a scar, and for the first time since he landed, he stopped thinking about Earth. He stopped wondering what they were doing, or if they would remember him. He let go of every story he had carried about war, about duty, about heroism, about pain, and he walked forward. The camera on his suit, long thought broken, flickered on for a moment. It captured no face, only a figure dissolving into light, slowly, peacefully, like sand blowing into the wind or a dream choosing to end itself. Chapayev didn't disappear. He returned. Returned to the source that created him. Returned to the silence, to the observer, to the place where truth lives before it becomes real. And then there was nothing. Just Mars, watching, waiting, listening.